Welcome to another Outlet Conversation. We are so excited to be here. This is a major milestone in our recording, and we want to thank you all for hanging with us thus far.
Absolutely.
Today, of course, I've got Drew with us. He's always with us. Even if I'm not here, Drew will be here. Definitely every time. And then we have brought back yet again Jay Hurt, the main man with the main plan.
What's up? What's up?
And today we just want to start off by saying we're going to give you something to help revive, rescue your relationships. Like, you want to tune in because we are going to give you a takeaway that, now we're not saying we have the magic wand to fix relationships, but at least we want to help you not drown. That's our goal. So in our time today, we're going to talk about, I guess, a relationship tip that'll help kind of turn things around. If you're watching, maybe there's been a tip that has worked for you. Please share it in the comments. Let us know. Let's have a community
conversation.
Hey, maybe we should call it Outlet
Conversation.
We can have
wow.
we have an outlet for you to have a conversation.
That's a
at.
great idea.
Let's do this. Let's do this. So,
Or if not even if you have a tip, but even if you've got questions, put it in the comments.
oh yes, we would love to answer questions, and if they're over my head, I'm going right to Jay Hurt.
They all over my head, so I automatically defer.
I'm ready.
I got the forward button on.
Oh man, relationships. I love talking about relationships because they're so they're so nuanced. And
Yes.
the longer that I'm married, the longer I'm sitting down with couples, I'm realizing you can't come in with preconceived notions or ideas. You have to literally let everyone tell their story and enjoy the uniqueness that you're going to find in those relationships. But I put a challenge out there for us today, and for those of you all who are watching, to give one tip that no matter what relationship, no matter what's going on, no matter what stages it's in, this will give you an immediate help. And this came from my wife and I recently bought a class on how to get your baby to sleep.
Okay. Good luck.
They selling everything these days.
As soon as we saw it, we were like, here's our money. Take my money.
Please.
I can see that.
And it's about 8 to 10. I don't know how many. I haven't watched all of them. But the reason I'm bringing it up is the first episode, the first class gave us a takeaway that I was like, if I don't watch the other 9, which my wife wants me to watch, if I don't watch the other 9, I've got something that is immediately helped what I was doing. And so that's the idea today. Like, what is something that we can give to those who are watching to help their relationships, for them to, just not drown? Okay. That's the goal today.
Okay. All right.
Help us. But you gotta introduce Jay and why he's certified to speak in this, and I'm not.
Well, for those of you who do not know Jay Hurt, and we've attached a link to his information in our show notes as well as his YouTube channel. He is a relationship coach. So Jay, what led you to getting into that particular field, and what are some things that you noticed while being in that field?
Wow, that's a big question. So what led me to it was crazy. Long story short, I was dating somebody. That relationship ended. It didn't end well. Randomly, look, I know we're in church, so I'm gonna use a little church here. I felt like the devil was involved here at the end. I don't know what was going on, but randomly people started asking me about relationships. So growing up, I was never the dude that anybody asked about relationships. I didn't know. I didn't care. I just wanted to enjoy life. Remember, we talked about Miami before. Anyway, so
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
In fall.
Right.
Throwback Thursday.
So, but it was interesting because at that point, I did have enough knowledge to be dangerous, and I felt like some of these things were common sense.
Okay.
So I decided to write a book. And when I started writing the book, by the way, it's the 9 Tenets of a Successful Relationship. You can find that on Amazon. Shameless plug.
Wow.
When I decided to write the book, yeah, a little bit.
Speaker.
Right.
So when I decided to write the book, I was like, I don't want to write a book of just my opinions. I want to have some insight, some knowledge, something deeper than just my thought on it.
Right.
So I started doing research and I found coaching. And when I found coaching, The very first class I had, they said, go start using this with some of your friends and get some clients, right? Start talking to people. And the first person that I worked with, I remember I had been talking to her and giving her advice, and she wouldn't receive it, right? Like most of us, often we give advice and people don't receive it.
Right.
But then I coached her and she took ownership, and I'm like, oh my God, where was this? Oh my goodness.
That's all I asked you to do in the first place.
This is all I asked you to do for the past 6 months. And I reframed the question, make it a question, and all of a sudden, here we are. You've changed, like, oh my gosh. So I was sold. So I've been a coach.
Quietly, that sounds like the key to relationships.
It might be.
Because people just be telling, why don't you just do this? But if you really
Okay.
coach them to it.
Stealing my thunder.
I'm
That's
sorry.
real
I'm
talk.
sorry.
That's real talk. That's real talk. That's real talk. So
I just picked
forward-
up what you was putting down. I'm
You
sorry.
got it. No, you good. So fast forward, here I am. I have a YouTube channel called The Confident Charismatic, where we talk about charisma.
Great channel, by the way.
Confidence, winning at life. I have an amazing producer. I have an amazing cameraman. My editing team is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Check them out.
Absolutely.
CapturedByDrew.com. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out in my description. They really are dope.
I might
Like,
get him to do our editing. Great plug.
So
He's
yeah.
pretty busy. That boy's over there working.
He's doing a little something, something. He's doing a little something, something. So that's how I got started. That's how I'm here. And man, I just love talking about relationships. I love helping people.
I'll be honest. I was skeptical of coaching up until about a year ago. 2 years ago. So it's 2022. Yeah, 2 years ago. Everybody said, I'm a coach. I'm a coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a this coach. I'm a basketball coach.
Right.
I'm a coach purse. Like,
right. I'm a coach person.
I would hear
I feel him.
I would hear coaching and I'm like, yeah. But then I realized something. The areas that I struggle with, I didn't turn the corner until I got a coach.
How about that?
And the most transformative coach that I had was a business coach. And really it was my business is church, so I had a coach for church. And he took me from going down a wrong direction with good intentions to having me put in systems, having me build confidence, having me have tough conversations, and in 12 months of coaching took my church from being okay to, I can say every Sunday when I leave church, I'm like, I literally love this church and I love the people I get to do life with.
Absolutely.
But that came not because I went to school and not because I was in my profession for a long time. It was because I had coaching to pull that out. So now I'm like, it's not just coaching, getting the right coach.
Absolutely. Can I say something about that?
Oh, absolutely.
So a lot of people on Facebook, you go down your timeline, they're a life coach, they're a spiritual coach, they are doing this, that, and the third, right? You know, they stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so they're a coach. So the thing is, look for coaches that are certified, especially if you're looking for life coaches, executive coaches, things like that, that are certified by an International Coach Federation accrediting school, right? Business coaches sometimes are a little different. They have a different set of standards that they work by. But other coaches, look for coaches that have that accreditation. They've been at least certified by that school and likely credentialed. Everybody else is using this coach thing like the idea of saying that they're a doctor, right? Like, I'm a doctor, but I have no certification, no credential behind it.
I wish we could throw a picture of that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So
Talk
so
to the
yeah.
editor. He might be able to make that.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna talk to
Maybe
editor.
in post-production.
Yes. So, but no, real talk. So I'm glad you had that experience, and sometimes that's what we need to understand that coaches are valuable. And yeah.
Extremely. If you want change, you need the right coach. It needs to have the credentials behind it. Their life needs to show it. Like,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, you want somebody who's gone where it is that you're trying to go. So today, as we're talking about relationship hacks or giving people, you know, just a tip for relationships, for me, I know my study of relationships happened because I was clueless in my own relationship, and I just poured myself into different materials, not just because I find sometimes church books that aren't necessarily based in any empirical data, have no sources, just a lot of conjecture, and then here's some scripture points.
You got a lot of big words, man.
Well,
Empirical data and conjecture. I was like, whoa.
You gotta use your triple word scores here.
Right.
So often
Right.
to show where
Yes.
educated. Those kind of leave a slant and aren't necessarily proven. And so I've been able to, over the years, while I've had to apply for me, I study relationships because I'm like, okay, how does this work in my own life, in my own context? You then, by accident, I coupled that with, I've probably been doing relationship counseling since 2012. So that at the time of this is 10 years. Then expanded a little more and got outside the church. Now you have just different couples coming in. And I will say my paradigm of relationships has shifted to a more a non-judgmental view. So let me just be honest. In church, you're immediately, especially as a pastor, you're looking at a couple and you're trying to figure out, okay, this is why they're in here to see me. But that's a prejudgment, or that's called prejudice.
Prejudge.
And so,
Prejudice.
yeah, see that? And you spend a couple of sessions of them proving that your prejudice is not accurate. So now you've lost 2.5 hours. Whereas now you're sitting and listening, and it's like, okay, we've got to help couples because the Leave It to Beaver nuclear family is a unicorn. It's so rare now.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of our models, especially from a Christian training perspective, need to be reformatted to the lives that we're in now.
That's
so
right.
That's what we want to do. Today, what's one thing we could leave people with that they could immediately employ, and it gives some results. Now, you're going to have to keep working from here, so we don't have a magic wand.
A step one that'll put us in the right direction.
Step one.
Because step one won't fulfill the ultimate goal, but what can at least get us in the right direction to getting us out the doghouse, getting us out of the craziness we're dealing with, getting us out of everything. What navigation can you direct us into that can help put us in the right way?
Absolutely. So Drew and
Definitely
Pastor
don't look at
Vince,
me. Definitely don't look at me.
They were apparently reading my notes on my phone. So you actually brought up the things that I want to talk about, right? So it's one step but two parts.
Okay.
So the first part is to listen, but it's not to listen. Well, let me say this, especially when we're drowning, right? That's what we talked about before we
You're
started.
like, help.
That we're in a
Like,
situation
listen,
where we feel like we're
if
drowning.
we don't fix something,
Right.
We're out. Somebody's out.
that's it.
That's it.
It's gonna get ugly.
So often when we have a conversation and there's contention in the relationship, we listen, but we're listening to talk. Right. We're really not listening. We're just pausing so we can say something like,
"Can I say what I gotta say now?"
Showing my manners.
And whatever you said, I didn't hear any of it, and
Right,
now I'm
right.
going to respond so I get my point across.
Right.
Listen with an empathetic ear, so you can respond accordingly. And then the second part of that, it's one answer, two parts. But the second part of that is when you respond and when you talk, when you communicate, ask open-ended questions. Be genuinely curious and non-judgmental.
Okay.
Right?
Help me, because my questions are very close-ended. Help me with some open-ended questions.
That's an open-ended question. Help
I did
me.
that on purpose.
I know he did. Help. So use lead-ins like help me or tell me more about that or use what or how, right? Use things
understand.
like help me understand. Talk to me about that, right? When you use things like, so did you do it? Or right? So now your answer is yes or no, and you're giving them an opportunity to be closed.
Did you?
Have a closed response. One of the worst, this sounds like an open-ended lead-in, but it's not. Especially when you're in contention in relationship, please hear me when I say this. Don't ask somebody why they did something. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Because why puts you on the defense.
Quick.
Right?
Quick.
Don't use why.
That's good.
Just about anything but why.
That's
right?
good.
But ask those open-ended questions.
I like that. Listen with an empathetic ear, and it really.
Where's my notepad?
My one takeaway is coming from listen with Empathy. So empathy. So
Empathy.
you said listening. My thing is empathy, and I think sometimes we're trying to prove our point and prove our case so much that we consider all of our evidence
Absolutely.
without ever fully investigating the other person's point of view and fully getting on their evidence and seeing it through their eyes.
Yes.
I think if we cultivate empathy, I want to say it was doctors Les
Cultivate
and Les
these
Parrott. So Les, I think their both name is Leslie, but Les.
One is Les and one's Leslie, I believe.
Yeah,
I think.
and maybe the first name both is anyway. but they made I think like a premarital assessment, Symbis or something.
Yes.
Symbis or I don't know how to say it.
Symbis,
Starts
that's
with
right.
starts with an S.
He got it.
Oh, now he choked up on words. He had all
Right.
the words before.
But
No.
I believe his doctoral study was in the field of empathy, and his books like Love Like That, and the list goes on.
Great book, by the way.
He talks about how as individuals, whether it's the marital relationship, whether it's friend relationship, whether it's employer relationship, we have to learn to put ourselves into the feelings of the other person.
Absolutely.
And I think that, I always ask couples this question. Do you think that they did what they did because they did it with malicious intent? So you're really upset because they did this X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Do you think they intentionally did that
Right.
to hurt you?
Right.
And more times than not, maybe 1 out of 100 will.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, you'll hear that 1 time out of 100, but 99 times out of 100 you'll hear, well, I don't think it was malicious.
Not intentionally.
So now we have to employ what you said. Now we have to listen and see where were they coming from with that.
Exactly.
Another thing that I noticed in relationships is that we're often trying to relate to the version of the person we met.
Woo!
And we're not relating to the person we're
That they
with.
are.
This is a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, I know
right?
that
That's
one.
that's a whole nother situation, right? Because we all grow. We all change. We, we're not going to look the same. We're not going to feel the same. We're going to have different experiences. We have to be able to grow and thrive with our partner so we can have conversations with the new version of our partner that's changing every day.
I definitely heard about that. They call it a 7-year curse or something like that, or like the 7-year curve. We never call it a curse, but more of a curve where they talk about
I
when
see
people.
how you moved the S to the V.
You like my big words?
Curve.
No, but they were talking about how people normally develop within 7 years, and like a lot of people who let's say you get married at 20, right? By the time you're like at 20, you're probably still in school or just graduating school. Your responsibilities are different. But by the time you're 27, you probably got a job. You probably got a few more bills, and your whole circumstance. You got a different group of friends. Everything has pretty much changed in your life by that time. You've taken on different responsibilities. So now you've become a different person.
Yeah.
Let alone your hair might change and your body might change and everything else. So it's one thing. So now you have to get to know this new person. And then obviously within the next 7 years, you got a whole nother list of events that have changed in your life. What if you've had kids by now? So now you're parents. What if you in a whole nother industry like that? So it's like being cautious of what's going on within that time frame and really growing with that person. And one more takeaway, because I really just take notes on this episode. I don't have much to say, but listening to what y'all was saying, I really taking notes because I'm listening to what you said earlier, Jay. As far as like in relationships, a lot of time we just do. I'm just being quiet to be polite so that you can let me speak. I don't even really hear what you're saying, but that went back with what you were saying with the coaching, because I think one thing that coaches do is they may be able to see everything you need to do, but they don't just be like, just do this. They make you realize it yourself. So they'll give you those open-ended questions to make you realize, like, even in baseball, right? Like, it may be a baseball coach who's like, I don't know, something. You're holding your glove the wrong way in order to pick up the ball, right? So then they'd be like, hey, did you ever notice that every time you do that, this happens? And now you're introspectively looking at it saying, you're right. So what should you do to correct that?
Introspective.
So what should you do to correct that? And they make you realize what the issue is and make you have that change within yourself instead of being like, You big dummy, why don't you just put your glove on the ground?
Like, do you like the ball hitting you in the chest?
Right. So I think that goes along with relationships is that, you know, it's the coaching, it's the being empathetic and hearing the other person's side of point of view, but then being there and speaking with them. Like, don't speak at people, but you both kind of understand where you're coming from.
To your point, just real quickly, one of the things that I'm kind of hearing you say is it's not always what
He's
you say.
diagnosing you right now.
It's not always what you say, but it's how you say it. And
Right,
in
right, right.
relationships, that's even more meaningful than in a career,
Yeah, absolutely.
in any other entity in life, right? How you go home and talk to pastor is going to be important on how I see you next time I see you, right?
Right,
absolutely.
It's important. So
Absolutely.
yes, great
So
point.
there was a book that, you know, people, one thing that I do hear people say, like, man, Vince, you were able to kind of frame, this is what we're talking about is framing.
Yes.
Like, man, you were able to frame that in a way that was just like, wow, that was tough, but you ended up framing it. And it's not only helped on the business side, helped on the relationship side. The book, I'm going to give a free game out here. The Art of Reframing by
It's great.
Lee Bowman.
Yes.
That is a business book, but if you take the principles from The Art of Reframing, it's going to transform all of your relationships because you're sitting there thinking, okay, what way will register to the hearer? Because my thing is, if we're going to have to output a certain number of words, I heard, I think our executive director, Diana, says this all the time, it might be expensive to buy something, but it's even more expensive if you buy the wrong thing and have to buy the right
twice.
thing and buy it twice.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So in speaking, it might be a lot to say something a certain way, but it takes even more words to have to clean up what you messed up.
Right.
Start your life and then say it again.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's that work on the front end to filter, to listen with empathy, to put yourself in the feelings of the other person, to update how you're saying, to understand that people do change, whether it's 7 years, to help people come to their own conclusions versus you driving them toward their conclusions.
Absolutely. That's
Quite
everything.
honestly, those are 3 excellent takeaways.
That's right.
I'm taking them away.
And just to your point though, right? So I mentioned listen with empathy. You touched on empathy, but the non-judgmental piece is important as well, right? So empathy and non-judgmental are cousins.
Okay.
But being non-judgmental in your relationship when tensions are high, she didn't cook, you're hungry, or you didn't do what you're supposed to do and she's mad, whatever it is, right? When you have that conversation, take the judgment out of it. Reserve your judgment. Your judgment is not going to help you get anywhere. Think about this. Any other place in our lives, if we're at work, we don't try to come up with ways to just push our ego or our agenda forward. We try to come up with solutions so we can move forward. We want to do the same things at home. We want to take that out of the conversation, take that judgment out, and just give your spouse, give your significant other an opportunity to have a conversation.
This is good. Listen, we could keep going, but we're not because the outlet conversation.
Can I say one more thing? No, just one more thing.
Go for
Just
it.
one more
Listen,
thing.
take
I'm taking all the notes.
You mentioned
take
the
your
7
time,
years.
Pastor.
You mentioned
Take your time.
you mentioned the 7 years. So I don't know when this is coming out. It might be 2023. But as of this filming, tomorrow, like in a few hours, it is my wife and I's 8th anniversary.
Hey.
I want to say happy.
And we ain't even know.
Didn't even know. I want to say
Wow.
happy anniversary to my
It
wife.
might
I
be
love
their
you,
9th
babe.
when it comes out.
It might be.
Right.
It might be the 9th anniversary, but happy anniversary. Love you, babe.
That's
I just want
what's
to
up.
share that.
Oh,
I'm glad we decided to give you an extra second.
Thank you. Thank you.
I should have exerted some force and said no.
It sounds like he's just trying to keep his relationship going in the right direction. That's
Exactly.
all.
He's
I'm not
doing
mad
what
at it.
necessary. Always watering his flowers.
Yeah.
You need, listen, any
That's a
chance
good
you
one.
get, water them flowers.
Amen.
That's
Water
good.
that. Because
I just taking all the notes.
you only going to get out what you put in.
Period. That's what it is.
Y'all preaching.
This is good stuff. So we thank y'all for being here for this outlet conversation. Again, if there are relationship tips that you have, please let us know in the comments.
Tips or questions, either one.
If you don't agree, let's talk about it in the comments.
Absolutely.
We'd love to have that conversation. Let's go.
Have us a little follow up.
Yes,
because this won't be the last time we talk about relationships at all.
And if you like what Jay Hurt is talking about, I believe he said he's got a podcast and a YouTube channel as well, so you can still find him there, follow him there, and even getting those comments as well. So if you agree or don't agree or whatever, talk to him there in his comments, and I'm sure he's got links to all his other social networks as well, and you can get some more information on him.
So his YouTube page will be in the show notes. Make sure y'all check it out. All right, till next time.
Hey man, thanks for coming.
We'll see y'all.
Thank you.